Hey fans, viewers, and listeners, welcome to another exciting episode of Fight Inside Podcast. I'm your co-host for today, Rain Cruz, also known as Ringside Rain, ring announcer for Up Next Fighting. And with me as always is Timmy B. Today, we will speak with the body language expert, Mark Bowden. We will talk about Matt Brown's retirement and Dana White on the Tom Brady roast. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Tim, hit it! Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Fight Inside Podcast.
Our guest today is a globally recognized body language expert, acclaimed keynote speaker, and best-selling author, empowering audiences to harness the power of nonverbal communication for trust and credibility. With clients ranging from Zoom to NATO and now you, his expertise extends to live and digital communication, shaping the strategies of business and political leaders worldwide. You've seen his TEDx talk online. You've seen him on social media, and you can see him soon on his new show, The Behavior Panel, on Dr. Phil's Merit Street Media. We're so happy to have him back to discuss MMA fighters and their quest to authentically gain your attention. It's very important in today's world, Rain. We talk about it all the time. Please bring in our guest.
Please welcome the body language expert, Mark Bowden.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Rain. I hadn't had a better introduction ever than that. That's fantastic. Can I tour you around with me?
Oh, sure. Let's go.
Yeah. You can be my hype woman. Be
there fantastic. You go, Mark. And I am
available.
I'm good at carrying bags.
Right.
I can book hotels, restaurants, whatever you two stars need.
You're booked. You're booked. Timmy, it's great to be here again. 4 years. 4 years ago, we were sitting here. What's been going on? Well, I mean, Rain's here now. That's great.
Well, yes, of course. My new co-host, Rain Cruz. She's a ring announcer in California, so that's why she's got the chops. Mark. Life has been so crazy, I'll tell you. So thank you so much. 4 years ago, I think like on our fourth or fifth episode, you came on, which blew our minds. We had just started this during the pandemic, had nothing to do. Mark, since you came on, I think it was because of you, we had UFC fighters from 1FC over in Asia, Bellator, PFL, Muay Thai stars, nutrition experts, coaches, trainers, everything coming onto this show weekly, Mark. And I've met some of like my idols. I've met some of the fighters that I've idolized and loved for my whole career. I met Rain as a guest. She was a guest because she was a commentator out in California. We wanted to see what a commentator is, a ring announcer is. And it's just been meeting lots of friends, Mark, every day, every week, bringing new people to the world and just hearing their stories, and it's been lovely.
Incredible. And listen, has Fight got even bigger? I mean, 4 years ago, yeah, we were all locked down. You'd essentially got a lockdown show. We'd got a lockdown show as well. And Fight's always been big, but has it got bigger in the last 4 years?
Like mixed martial arts? You mean?
Yeah.
You know what? I think it's become a little bit more global. I think there's more superstars that have become a little bit more well-known. Of course, Conor McGregor just released a movie, Roadhouse, on Prime Video. So that kind of brings him into the mainstream. And just this past weekend, there was a comedy roast on Netflix, a live roast of Tom Brady. Wow. Did you happen to hear that?
No.
And I mean, so, you know, it's all the comedians and they're roasting Tom Brady. But right in the front is Dana White, the president of the UFC.
Okay.
With a couple of fighters at his table. And very quickly, the comedians call him out and speak to him. So he gets a lot of publicity from that. And then they even gave him the mic for 60 seconds to roast Tom Brady. So, I mean, if that's not putting the UFC and mixed martial arts, you know, on a little bit of a pedestal, I don't know, but I feel like it's growing, Mark. I feel like it is growing.
Yeah, amazing. Well, I mean, it's great to be here. Great to be part of all of that with you.
Yeah, thank you so much. And how are you doing? Of course, because, you know, we saw you 4 years ago and you're doing your thing and your tours and your talks. And as I said in the intro, you've got the Behavior Panel is a show that's going to be coming out on Dr. Phil's Merit Street. Can you tell people what that's going to be about?
Yeah, so the behavior panel is myself and 3 other experts in human behavior and body language. And what we do is we break down, things that are of public interest, whether it's a politician talking, whether it's a criminal who might be going to court or is in court, whether it's a celebrity who might be in court or might have got caught doing some bad stuff, and some kind of classic true crime people in video. We look at those, we break them down, and we tell you what we believe and we think is really going on by looking at their body language and human behavior.
I love it. I love it. Rain, last time we had Mark on, we talked about when fighters go in their standoffs with one another and how different guys, Mark, some have their hands up, some have them down right by their side. Some do a lot of mirroring, whatever the other guy does, they copy it.
Do this.
About that. Yeah. So, but this, and I encourage people obviously go back and watch that podcast. But I do want to ask you right now, the big thing in the world, and I think since the last time I spoke to you, I think one of the big things is the pressure on fighters to grow their social media.
Yeah.
You have to grow your social media because promoters and owners of the fight promotions really look. And I think this is true because we'll have fighters even comment on it saying, you don't have enough followers, I'm not going to fight you. Like crazy. But Mark, we speak to a lot of amateur fighters here on the show as well. Of course, people that looking to get that next step up. Fighters are trying to engage their audience more in their social media. How would you suggest that they do that? How can they build an engaging relationship with their fans or random strangers?
Yeah. So look, I think probably people are going onto social media for around about 4 or more reasons. Let me give you 4 reasons I think people will go onto social media, and then let's kind of pick one of those. I think they either go there to solve a problem. They've got something that they need fixing. They go there to make some kind of connection, like they want to be linked to something. They want to feel part of something or part of someone. So some kind of connection. I think sometimes we all go there to get shocked. We're like, give me something that's going to surprise me, going to shock me, going to make me go, I can't believe this. And then I think we go there to laugh as well. I think laughter is one of those things as well. But I think I'm going to put those down as kind of 4 entertainment reasons that we go somewhere. Now, so it comes down to like, what do you want to do as a fighter to win that audience? Can you help them with something? Can you help them make a connection to something? Can you shock them in some way? Can you make them laugh? Well, there's probably some other things you can think of. But I when I was thinking about it, those are kind of the main things. Let me tell you the how to fix a problem one, because I'm not sure that that's something that the fight community or fighters might be doing, and it's an option for them. It's like, I don't see many people do this, so how about you try it? Can you say something, or can you produce some media that is current, relevant, and helpful? Current, relevant, and helpful. So think about, people are going online because there's a current problem or a current idea about there, or there's something being talked about a lot. So it's already current. So maybe they're searching for it. They're Googling it in some way. And so you're going to come up in more search terms if you've got content around that. So something that's current. Then is it relevant to, the genre that you're in, essentially? Is it somehow relevant to fight in some way? Okay. But then is it helpful? Is it helpful to people out there? Can they walk away from your social media going, you know what? That was really helpful for me today. Maybe I'll watch another one, or maybe I'll send it to my friend or my family, my son, my daughter, my aunts, my uncles, send it to my granddad, my grandma, she'll like this one, because it's something that is helpful. So current, relevant, and helpful. And I think if you fulfill those 3 things, that you're current, you're relevant, and you're helpful, I think then you can ask your audience to do something for you. You can go, hey, subscribe, or hey, pass this on to somebody who needs this. So look, I mean, I think we could all go out and we could shock people, or we could make them laugh, or the connection thing is an important one. What I don't see a lot of people doing is that help piece. Can you get online and help people? I mean, look, give me some feedback on that. Do you see anybody? Does anybody immediately come to mind who might be doing that already in some way, or is it one that's being missed out on, do you think?
I don't want you to judge me. Rain, I'm going to go first on this while you think. Because it
Yeah.
looks like Rain is deep in thought here. But Mark, as you said that, I thought of, there's a fighter named Holly Holm.
Okay.
And she's a UFC fighter, former champion. She does a lot of like woodworking and like design around her house. And like, she's very good at it. You know, she'll build things and like fixing up her kitchen. And I'll tell you, I get enthralled with her videos because she's creating something and she kind of, you know, she does like a time lapse thing or whatever. And it's quick, but she's going through and she's building something, or she's fixing a problem. Like she's fixing something in her house, fixing whatever it is, building something. I do find that very, very interesting. And I'll tell you, I watch all of her videos, you know, and oftentimes I'll send it to my wife and say, how come you don't do this, honey? And of course I do it, but you know, that's another problem. But I mean, does that count?
I think it does. Look, I mean, clearly it's making a connection with you. You're making connections with other people by going, hey, have a look at this, you know. But there's something there, that something is being fulfilled, something is being completed. You know, there's that moment of creation, you know, something wasn't there and now it's there in a different state. And if it's that stuff around the home, there's an element maybe there of like, hey, you know, I think I could do that, or I should get to work.
I really should do that.
I really should do that. You know, it's maybe, you know, inspirational in some way, but certainly you've got somebody there letting you in to a part of their life and a part of their character, which again is that connection piece. And who'd have ever thought it? You got a fighter there, you know, top fighter there doing home woodwork. It's like, what? How would you connect the two? Well, here's an important thing, Timmy. You never know what's going to work until you try it.
True.
You just don't know.
That is true.
You know, you just don't know. You have no idea. So the key is testing stuff. Give it a go. Give it a go and see how people respond. Give it more than a few goes and see how people respond. And if they're liking it, keep going with it. And if they don't like, if they're not responding to it, do something else or keep doing that if you like doing it. Because here's the thing is, you've got to produce this stuff at least a couple of times a week, at least, really. So it's got to be something that you can do and you can constantly do and you kind of like doing. Rain, what do you think? What have you seen out there that's been interest to you?
Honestly, I can think of two users. One would be Jared Flash Gordon. We've had him on a podcast before, and he talked about his background, how he got into MMA, and on his social media, I find it very encouraging whenever he would kind of show people how he started, how he was dealing with addiction. And then later on, he found his way into MMA, basically picked himself up, and he is where he is now, right? There's another account. It's called Women Powered Jiu-Jitsu, something like that. It's from the Gracie Barra family. Yeah. And they do post valuable things, especially for women. Like for myself, you know, I do work at MMA events. It's usually late night events. There's a lot of like drunk people. And I personally, for me, I watch their content because I can, you know, it's like stuff that you want to know so you know how to protect yourself, right? So I find their content very useful for me.
Yeah, I mean, those are great examples because, you know, one is that helping you how to look at your life, you know, how to move forward with that, and it's inspirational. You know, like if he can do it, I can do it. And the other one is like, I actually need support around this. I need help. And there's other people who are experiencing this as well. They've got techniques, they've got tools, they've got support, you know, and I imagine, Rain, that's the kind of thing that you might sometimes pass on to other people, you know, as well, going, look, you know, have a look at this. This is good. And that's what you want. You want to have some kind of content because you can't do all the work yourself. You can't get out to that audience. You've got to get people who like your content, getting it out to other people as well. That's why it's called social media, because it iterates itself through other people's social networks, not your social network, through other people's social networks. So that means you have to be helpful to other people. It has to be all about other people and less about you. You need to help other people. Anyway, I hope that's that's helpful to everybody out there. But it's just that thing of, in my experience, try out an idea, go for it, test it out a few times, see what people, because it's cheap to make this stuff in the end. That's the beauty.
It's free to post.
Yeah. It's free to post. It's free to post. It's cheap to make. It's free to post. Be creative. Give it an idea. Give it a go.
No, I think that's great, Mark. I think, honestly, I really think that will help some fighters and things like that figure out what they need to do, because I do worry that a lot of people just post the same stuff. The same training video or the same whatever. And it's like, okay, but what's distinguishing you from the rest? And what is going to make someone want to follow you? Because, again, like you said, you have to bring value to your audience. So that's very interesting. So to all the young fighters out there, to the people that are looking to become pro, that are looking to build their social media, take Mark's advice. Find something that you enjoy doing, that you like doing, and create it so that it helps people. I like that, Mark. I think that's genius.
Yeah. Well, I'd love to see what people come up with.
Yeah. Let's see what they do.
Yeah.
And I do want to say, I was speaking when people found out that you were coming on, I was speaking with a young athlete. He's out in California, and he was saying that just recently his coach was saying to him that his coach doesn't like him speaking about motivational stuff or being transparent with how he's feeling after a win, after a loss. The coach doesn't like that. He says that, hey, I don't need you to be so authentic. I need you to just put on an act, put on a face. And I think he's having difficulty with that kind of, guidance, if you will. Yeah. Because he's saying, but it's me, it's my energy that people do like. And so what would your advice be to him, who has been putting out his authentic self, saying when he's struggling, saying when he's having a tough time, saying when he's having a good time? Or should you focus on creating an image?
I can see both sides, because we got here maybe a coach or manager here who's going, look, here's the effect that I need you to have, maybe in order to, get you this next fight, or get you, you're going to need to do this in order to fit in with people's expectation. Yeah. And then there's you, there's the real you, and both are right, essentially. And I kind of wonder, is it possible to do both? Is it possible to kind of juggle both, knowing one is an act, and all sports at any kind of high level are full of act, because they're sport and entertainment, essentially,
right.
and there's a whole industry relying on this piece in order for them to sell all their other stuff, and everybody make a living and go home and be able to, feed their families. So we do, it's right for the coach or the manager to go, hey, here's what I need you to be, for this machine, and then it's right for the athlete or potentially athlete and artist, essentially, to go, but then there's me. And I wonder, can you do both? And actually, would that be quite interesting, in that there is the performance you, and there is the real you, and you are very clear about both, and people know when it's both, so they'll be able to go, he's putting on his act right now. We like that. We like him when he does that act, and we also like him when he's really honest with us. And we like both. Now, if I were to take any one side, it's hard to take a side, because, one person might well understand the industry way better than the other, and also at the same time, the athlete, you got to do this every day. Like, you got to get up, look at yourself in the mirror, and do this every day, and come in positive as you can every day, confident in yourself. So, it's tough. I can see every side. What do you think?
I think that the idea is that for the coach, I think what he's saying is he wants him to put on that bravado or that face in order to portray yourself as the strong guy, or as the, you know, as the tough guy. And he wants him to create that because then he thinks that the promoters or the organizers will say, hey, there's a guy that we want because he's looking tough and he's looking brash, you know, and that's a guy we want to represent our organization. But on the flip side, I do believe that if he's being authentic and people can come across it and see him as being true, I think you'll gain a more engaged following, because people will be following you because of who you really are. Perhaps maybe comment on your posts a little bit more, share that a little bit more. And if those numbers grow, I think that the promotions will also look at his numbers and say, okay, well, maybe this guy isn't, you know, flipping off his opponents all the time.
Right.
But he does have X thousands of followers.
Right, the numbers are the numbers. From what you were saying before, like, you won't be put in a certain promoted fight unless you have the numbers. So you better go and get the numbers. Now your manager's saying you'll get the numbers if you're bold and brash, and and he's going, well, that's not me. Okay, fair enough. Well, then go hard on the other side. Like, be, you know, just I mean, there was a soccer player, Eric Cantona, French soccer player, Eric Cantona, who got very, very famous because he'd be incredibly philosophical, while every other player in the world would, you know, be, well, you know, I kick the ball and I knock it in the back of the net. And when he was interviewed, he would come out with, you know, erudite philosophies that even some of the best philosophers couldn't quite work out what he was talking about. And now he's a good football player, you know, was that good soccer player?
Gotta be.
You know, but ultimately he managed to coin a character and a brand by going down this philosophy route. So it's not that you can't have, you know, character and brand and followers just by going down, like, I guess, the aggressive and brash route. But you got to make a choice. The thing is, I always say, make a choice, make it bigger, and keep it tidy. Decide what you're going to do, then realize you're not doing it big enough. Nobody's watching you. They can't see it. So you're still too small. So you make a clear choice. Nobody can see it yet. So make the choice even bigger. And now don't add other stuff to it going, well, but there's this audience over here and they like a bit of this. And, you know, what's my mum going to think? And, you know, my old school friends, like, they like a bit of this. It's just like, no, I'm doing this one thing and I'm doing it as big as I possibly can. Some people won't like it, but they'll know what I'm doing. It will be clear. So go down that route.
I like that, because you can't please everyone anyway.
No, you can't. You can't please, you know, Rain, you got a whole bunch of Emmys back there. So you got a bunch of awards. Okay. So like, you know, that's a clear signal of, okay, top performer. Okay. What did you get those Emmys in? How did you achieve those Emmys? What were you doing to get
So
them?
I was doing live editing for a show that I used to work on. So our show won the Emmy. So our whole team won the Emmy. Yeah. And my former job, they were kind enough to let us know, hey, if you guys want an Emmy, let us know. And then we got the opportunity to partake, and now I got the Emmy.
Rain, what was the show? What was the show about?
It's called Access Sportsnet Lakers and Dodgers. So we covered the Lakers and the Dodgers throughout the entire season. But
Rain, Cookery is good. People like Cookery. They're good shows as well. Why didn't you do any a cookery bit on it? And people like you know, crime shows. They do very well. Like why didn't you have a bit of crime in there as well? It was
I guess, like, for me, honestly, I landed into working sports, which is weird because back then I was never a sports person. I just love doing television production.
Okay.
And
so
honestly,
you stick to one thing. You stick to one thing.
And this is the thing. I didn't think I would get the job because the recruiter asked me. She said, so are you a sports fan? So that was the moment we're in. Do I stay true to myself or do I lie? Because I was like, I'm not really a sports fan. So I just told her, I said, I am not a sports fan. However, I love doing television production. Whatever I'm working on, sports, news, crime, whatever, I will do my best because I love television production.
Right. Okay. So look, you do what you love.
Got the job.
You do what you do, and you do it on a show that's decided this is all we do. We just do this. And if you want a different show, there's networks full of them. So don't watch this. And I think it's the same for anybody who's creating a brand and trying to be a top performer. don't try and please everybody, because you can't. Try and be the very best that you can in one tight, small area, and make your mark there, and then see what you need to expand on, but try and get down to one idea and just deliver on that as well as you possibly can. And you may well get a whole bunch of awards like that at the back there. If you go down that route,
you might all achieve what Rain has achieved.
I'm pretty envious.
But Mark, I think you're right. I think it's like those people that stand out. There's people that stand out because of their look, right? You can be a Sean O'Malley with his big pink afro-y hair and his funny look, things like that. But then you can stand out because of the kind of the person that you are. And so like that what you're putting out there. There's a fighter that just came out on the UFC, Moicano, and after he won his fight, he's a Brazilian guy.
Yeah.
And when he went on the mic, he cut this weird promo where he said, everybody should read the book by Ludwig von Mises about economy. And he was talking about this Austrian-American economist. And he was telling the public that it's very important that you read this book because it talks about economy. And I'll tell you, that set off a stream of media about this guy. He was being interviewed on MSNBC. He was going over because he started talking about something that was very dear to him. Like he's very intelligent around this, but he talked about, and people were like, what is this guy doing?
Well, he's passionate about it. Like, he gives a lot of energy about it. People can't help but look because they're going, what's going on there? So that is what we call a pattern interrupt. And we've always got to think about these. There's a pattern that goes on. We get used to these patterns. Yeah. And anytime you can interrupt one of those patterns, you will reawaken people's attention. So think about all those patterns that are around, the sport and, any element of it, and think, how do we fall into these patterns and comply to these patterns? And is there a point where I, as a athlete, could break one of those patterns in order for people to go, hang on, what's going on there? Like you're saying, the pink hair.
Hair, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, just I wasn't even thinking there'd be, a fighter athlete out there with, big pink hair. It's just like, so instantly, the moment you do that, my brain goes, what? Well, I got to see that. Like, show me a picture. Yeah, because it completely broken the pattern of that. And now my brain needs to investigate, and it will pull in a lot of, here we go.
He's on the right-hand side there, Mark.
Yeah. I thought that might be him. Yeah, extraordinary. And that suit, I haven't worn suits like that since like the early 80s, I think.
I actually borrowed his suit.
You actually borrowed? Yes. Yeah. Perfect. That's perfect. Yeah, so look, that's a great pattern interrupt, which means we have to look. We will investigate if we can't see, and we'll put a lot of energy into it. And of course, if you're looking for followers, you're looking to be a leader. What you're talking about here, Timmy Rain, is you're saying, look, there are young athletes out there, and they want to be leaders in their field. Well, that means you need followers, and for followers, you have to be followable. That's followable. The pink hair, I can go, well, who do you like? I like the guy with the pink hair. It's like, it's easy for me to follow him. I can name him. Yeah, I can make it easy for other people to see him as well. Just go and look for there's a fight with pink hair. I like that one. Go and look at that one.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so easy to be attracted to that. Now I can also go, I don't like that one. Which one? The one with the pink hair. Don't like, I hope he loses. So it's very easy to be for him or against him. Easy to be led into that clear signal. He's made a choice. He's made it bigger, and he's kept it tidy. He's even going, I'll wear a pink suit and the pink hair, just in case you miss the pink hair. There's a pink suit.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting. But I think, Mark, in today's society where we're talking about social media and things like that, and trying to help fighters gain a following, gain viewership, it's important that they kind of listen to what you're saying here about thinking about the content that you're putting out there. And then, who that's attracting and how that's attracting someone, because it's going to lead you to opportunities. right? Like it really does. Now, Mark, we talked last time about, how people act and act tough or put on facades, and we've been talking about it a little bit today. One question I wanted to say, are there common mistakes that you see, because you're analyzing body language all the time? Are there common mistakes that you see people do online that can actually be unlikable at its core? Because you've talked about that before. I know in your talks you talk about like how people make split decisions on whether I like you or not. What are things that fighters should avoid doing on their social media to avoid being disliked, almost, primally disliked right from the get-go?
Yeah. So avoid things like disgust and disdain. Disgust is this one here where your nostrils flare, and disdain or contempt is when the side of your mouth comes up. And if you're showing that most of the time, but you're trying to talk to an audience, they think you're in disgust and disdain of them.
Oh.
So really you've got to, I think, keep your aggression down when you're talking to your audience. And so that's tricky, because you might want to be putting across that, tough kind of facade or reality of yourself to that audience, but they want to be your friend. They want you on their side. They're looking at you going, that's the guy I would want to be walking down the street with. That's the guy I would want to bring round for dinner. This is the guy I'd want in the bar or the pub with my mates, with my friend. Yeah, because he's a good guy to be with, and I like him and he likes me. Yeah, or she likes me. Yeah. So you want to avoid this kind of disgust. Also, the narrowing of the eyes. So this is often happens when you're targeting. When you're targeting things, the eyes will narrow. Okay, but again, that doesn't look friendly. Disgust doesn't look friendly, and contempt or disdain doesn't look friendly. But I feel quite aggressive now, so I feel kind of good, but you probably don't like me so much.
They feel like you're going to fight me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but what you want is me on your side if there's a fight. Essentially, I think all of this is about, look, we all go into battle. We all go into fights with all kinds of things. We're not getting what we want out of the day, and people are being a pain to us, and so we've got, there's these conflicts. We haven't got enough money, or can't find a car park space. We've all got these conflicts going on. And I think what we do when we look at athletes, especially fighters, is we go, well, what if I could have some of their grit and determination in this moment here? I'm not saying I need to go out and hit somebody about the parking space, but ultimately I've got to keep on going. I got to keep on going, and I've got to win this. And I think that's what we see in those fights. We see two people, one of which we might support, going, I got to keep on going. I've got to win this. And there's technique to that. There's like, I got to build my skills to win anything. So there's technique to be had. There's training. Like, I got to do it every day in order to do this. And I got to keep on going longer than anybody else, because I'm hoping that other person gives up on their training and their technique, because even if my technique isn't as good, if they lose their better technique, I still win, because I kept going longer than them. Yep. So I think that's probably who we're looking for, is somebody who can be a friend, who can help us with that determination. I don't know, like I don't watch this sport as much as you guys. I'm not involved in it as much as you are, but I mean, does that ring true for you when you're watching any of this? Is that what it's about, do you think?
Yeah, honestly, when you were talking about that, I already thought of someone. I thought of Dricus du Plessis, whom we had on this podcast before. He just seemed to be super friendly, like someone who would fight for you, right? But he's like, he's a great fighter, and I know he could defend us. That's how it feels to me. Seeing him, looking aggressive. I never saw like a mean look on him, but I know he's a fighter. I can tell, and he can really fight.
Right.
Personally, the fighters that I work with, there are some that I can pinpoint, who have that friendly appeal to them, right?
Yeah.
I now thinking about their body language, because sometimes, at weigh-ins, I approach fighters and I ask them, "Hey, how can I pronounce your name? What's your hometown? Blah blah blah." Just double checking their information,
Nice.
right? And there are some fighters that are, to me, they look approachable. And then there are some that I'm like, okay, I don't know if he's grumpy because he hasn't had any food in his system. Maybe I should wait. But there are some who are definitely like, they are fighters. But for me, it's like, it's always easy for me to just, hey, I just want to get your information. How's it going? Oh, you're still hungry? Oh my God. Food later. But, they're friendly and they're approachable.
Yeah. Well, I guess those, when they're facing off against each other, I guess there can be a lot of aggression there. The fight's already started in some ways. Yeah. So there's going to be testosterone, there's going to be adrenaline, there's going to be potentially hunger, low glycogen, there's all kinds of neurotransmitters going around there. But I will advocate for the person who's able to switch that on and switch that off, which I think is what you're saying, is there are some out there who are able to interface with you as an interviewer, getting that information off them, and then be able to switch to the aggression,
to the fight mode.
I mean, that's pretty impressive when somebody can do that, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Well, Mark, we're going to put your skills to the test now.
Brilliant.
If you don't mind.
Of course.
Okay. You say you're one of the world's greatest. Yeah.
Let's just say. Let's just test it out.
We got to test this out. And we have video here.
Okay.
Of our friend Rain Cruz.
Okay.
While she is announcing, and her and I, she's begun this dream a little over a year ago now, I guess.
Yeah. I've been ring announcing for wrestling since 2021, and then I started MMA just last year.
That's amazing. Right. That's amazing. Well done.
So, Mark, she has developed into a fantastic cage announcer for Up Next Fighting in California. Shout out to them for giving her the shot and for keeping her on. She's doing her thing. We talk a lot, like behind the scenes on the podcast, we talk a lot about how she's doing and how she's performing. So to have you now here and be as brutally, right, Rain? Brutally honest?
Yeah.
Brutally honest. Okay. Brutally honest. Because I'm going to show you, well, I've got two clips, but I'm going to show you the first clip because this is one where she's really interacting with the camera. And of course, as a cage announcer, yes, you're speaking to the people in attendance, but also that camera is there. It's in your face. And so the screen is a little bit blurry because it's a video of the video screen showing.
Sure.
But I'm going to show this to you. And I just want,
I'll be watching it down here.
Is there anything you want to ask him specifically before we show the video, or?
No, just play it.
And Rain, the purpose, what you're trying to achieve in this is you're essentially you tell me what's the role that you have here? What's the purpose of it?
So for me, my purpose is to let everyone know who the fighter is. Basically give everyone the fighter's information. But on the other hand, for me personally, I see it as I hype up the fighters, right? Make them feel like this is their moment.
Yeah.
This is the best day of their lives. I want them to feel like, oh my God, I made it. I'm about to fight. I'm ready to go.
Love it. I love that. Great. Let's see it.
All right. So I'm going to show the first one here, Rain. This is the one where you're announcing, saying ready, set, go. So this is this one here. Okay.
Lovely.
Here we go, Mark.
Lovely.
California, this is our main event. And now, the fighters are ready. The cage is set. Let's go! This bout is set for 3 rounds.
Love it. Well, I love it. Okay. So here's what I loved. You were building up the tension in your body, and it kind of goes into your face. You can hardly kind of contain it. Okay. What I would say to you is to make it even bigger. You started that gesture out with those cards, and I know you're trying to keep the cards close because you're going to have to read off them eventually, But if you can take the card out and make it bigger at some point, so you fill more space.
Okay.
More space. If you fill more space visually, your voice will open up even more and your face will open up even more. And we'll see what a big event this is. Yeah.
Okay.
Now I see what you're doing there, which is you're trying to play for the camera and you've got the big audience there. And I love what you did of playing out to the audience and then hitting the camera. Okay. But I think the rest of the body could play the audience bigger. So the face plays the camera. Yeah. And then your gestures really play the bigger audience. So you come out. So I have something called the different circles that you can gesture in. And first circle is when your hands or your arms would actually be touching the rest of your body. Okay. Second circle is where no other part of your arm or your hands are touching the rest of your body. And third circle is when your joints lock out completely. Yeah. I would make sure. Now, you weren't in first circle there, but you were in second circle. I think you need to find that moment of third circle. Now, obviously, you got a mic here. You got a mic here. So one of your arms won't be able to go to third circle, but the other one can. And then you'd be able to whip it back in again to read your card. And that means you've got dynamic, because the audience will see big, small, big, small. Okay. And you'll get even more attention. But listen, the energy of it and the pleasure, what I would call the pleasure of it, is really clear. And for me, that's you really doing your job, which is to make me believe that I've come to the best fight ever.
Oh my God.
Because any audience there, anybody who's bought a ticket, they're hoping for it to be brilliant. They're hoping for it to be brilliant. And if somebody comes on and basically gives words and sound and gestures that basically say, you spent your money wisely, this is going to be the best thing you've ever seen. Yeah, it's more likely to be that for them. So you're really hyping it up, which is great, I think.
I love it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Can we have another? We got another one?
Mark, I'm going to show you the second one. Yes,
Yeah.
here's the second one. This is where she's more announcing a fighter specifically. So in this one, she's not facing the camera because she's looking towards the fighter that's to her right side. But here is this video here.
Great.
Representing King Team MMA,
I love it.
So that's what I do. I normally
love
do this and then I punch in the air.
Yeah. Okay, great. So here's what I would do. Make a choice, make it bigger, keep it tidy. So that, I think you could have gone 3 times longer.
Longer? Okay.
Yeah. Because you make a choice, you make it. So you made the choice. You said, okay, I'm going to do the roller coaster thing, But it's like, did you take us on the biggest roller coaster you have? And I don't think you did. And here's the thing, like, from what I can see of you there, it looks like you're probably quite a lot smaller than many of the people who'd be on that. Yeah? I'm just guessing that one, and I probably guessed right. Okay. So here's the thing. If you do things bigger and longer, it'll be even more dynamic, because the audience will go, that's a pattern interrupt. I didn't expect that from her.
Oh.
Yeah? So the bigger you go, the more they go, well, I didn't expect pink hair. It's that pink hair moment where we go, she's small, but like she's so big at the same time.
Okay.
Yeah?
Okay.
And so now we've got that distance. Now we've got that thing that's got tension in it. It's pulling between 2 ideas, small and big. Yeah. And so when you do that punch up in the air, you take longer over it, you go even higher, and you keep it there, and then you collapse right in again. So it's dynamic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. It does make sense. When I usually do the end, I sometimes actually end up kind of like squatting down a little bit.
Yeah.
That's me kind of like loading.
Yeah. So load it even more.
Load
it even more. See, I think, when I saw that, when I look at you and you're in great performance mode, you've got great energy, but I would challenge you that you've got even more ability to go lower and even more ability to go higher.
Higher.
Yeah. And you play what you're doing, though, though I can see it's a performance, okay, I'd go, you're playing it safe. Like, you've got more. Yeah, you've got, just like, when there's fighters there and you want your fighter to win, and they look like you're going, no, come on, you got more, you got to keep on going. You got to like push yourself to the absolute limit.
Okay.
That's what I'd like to see. It's like you going, that is my maximum. There is no more than that. Like, my body cannot tolerate any more than I did at that moment. That's what I want to see.
I love it. Thank you. Because I think this goes back to what we were talking about earlier about, okay, do I kind of keep like certain impression, or I'm sorry, not impression. Impression is not the right word. Certain look, right? Do I need to look like more kind of like, polish, or do I just kind of let it go, push myself?
Here's the thing. Like, the way you're showing up today, you're already polished. The way you show up there, you're already polished. You're suited. Like, the hair's really like we're already going, there's a very polished woman walking on stage. So now we want to know, okay, what's it like when she goes to her maximum?
Oh,
because you're always polished.
Okay.
You're in that ring, and everybody out there is kind of going, I wish I had it in me to be in that ring. Okay. Everybody there going, I wish I had whatever it takes to be in that ring. And some of them do have what it takes. Some of them will be fighters, and they'll be going, it should be me in that ring today. But most other people are going, I wish I had what it takes. I really respect these people. So you're already there. Yeah. So you already have credibility.
I love it.
You're already walking on with polish. Now you got to give us the other end.
Oh, I love that.
And return to that. Yeah. So we go, wow, that, she was quite a small woman that came on, but wow, she's big. Like, she's big. Yeah. Does that make sense to you?
It does make sense. I love it. I honestly get that comment a lot, like after the show, because sometimes they'll meet me before the show starts, right?
Right.
They'd be like, oh, okay, cool. Like, nice to meet you, and then next thing I know, I do the show. And after the show, some fighters would come up to me, or just people in general, they would walk up to me and tell me, oh my God, I did not expect that voice from you.
Right. Right. So look, you're already there. Like, but when I listen to it, because I work with performance, so I know what people's maximums are. Yeah. And I'm looking at you, and you're nowhere near your maximum right now, which is okay, because look, there you are. Like, you're in a place that I'm not. So good on you. You're there. But I look at you and I go, no, you've got so much more there. You got so much more in you.
I love that.
Yeah, Mark, Rain, I mean, I'm so happy that we had Mark here for this, because like, we're both trying to grow in our skills, Mark. I've been commentating now for an organization out in East Coast Canada, Fight League Atlantic.
Oh,
so I'm the commentator there.
Fantastic.
And I'll tell you, I am reading so much into what you're saying about being more, being bigger, being bolder when I'm there, because I know that that's something I got to work on. I love that Rain is taking it away from you. And again, to the fighters that are listening and watching to this podcast, it's about every way that you present yourself on your social media, in person, when you're in front of fans or future fans. How do you present yourself? Making yourself bolder, making yourself bigger. Don't hold back. Right? Mm-hmm. Everything is a performance, but it's about you. It's about you being authentic. But taking some of these words from Mark Bowden and being bigger, I really like it. And the term in the fighting community, Mark, when that person is in there fighting, empty the gas tank.
Right.
That's the term. You want to fit in with us, Mark, you got to empty the gas tank.
Yeah, I like it.
Don't leave.
But then I want to see, what they're like when they're just going on the fumes. Of
That's when they're just like, I got nothing. Mark, absolute pleasure having you back on the podcast. It's been 4 years.
I know.
I was telling everybody, I'm like, oh my goodness, I can't believe Mark Bowden's going to be back. I'm a huge fan of yours. Again, everybody, make sure you go follow Mark Bowden. Mark, where's the best place for them to follow you? Is it your LinkedIn? I know that.
Yeah, LinkedIn's a great one for me, because I though I'd love to work, in sports more, it's mainly business that I'm in. So you'll find me on LinkedIn. You'll find me on Facebook. You'll find me on Twitter, on Instagram. Just Google Mark Bowden and you'll find me. But do follow. Be lovely to see you.
Definitely. I will put your LinkedIn in the show notes below. Beautiful. To make sure that people at least have that. But yes, search up Mark Bowden. For those only listening on audio, Mark, M-A-R-K, Bowden, B-O-W-D-E-N. Go follow him everywhere for incredible content constantly. And of course, check out his new show, The Behavior Panel, which is going to be on Merritt Street. So definitely check that out. Mark, before I let you go, I'm going to ask you one final question that I've been asking all my guests. Maybe for the last year now, I've been asking all the guests, and I often get very interesting and surprising answers. It's a question that my mom used to ask me almost every day growing up in my life, Mark. So
when are you coming home? Is that?
Yeah. Wait, was she talking to you, Mark? No, Mark Bowden, I'm going to ask you, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are you?
Oh, how happy am I? You know what? I would say happiness. That's a really interesting one, isn't it? It's a hard one to define. Here's what I will say. I do enjoy having conversations like this about stuff that I don't normally talk about. Let me answer it in this. I'm happiest, I think, when my brain is doing stuff that it doesn't normally do and thinking about stuff that it doesn't normally think about. And certainly this interview, this podcast today, I've definitely been doing that. So I would put myself at like let's say a good kind of 7.5 having been with you.
All right, there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, thank you so much, Mark. And if Dr. Phil is looking for a show where we just analyze fighters for a half hour, hey,
I will let him know. I'll let him know.
This seems like a good trio that we could get on there.
Yeah, I'll let him know. I'm sure he would love actually to comment on that.
There you go.
He's a big lad, Dr. Phil.
He's huge. He's 6'4", 6'5".
Football player. You would not want to be in his way if you would. You would not want to.
No, yeah, he's a big boy.
Yeah.
Mark Bowden, absolute pleasure for you to join the podcast. An honor for us to have you. Thank you so much. I mean, it is incredible. You are a superstar in what you do and around the world. So thank you so much for joining this little podcast.
Pleasure.
4 years down.
Well, next time let's make it earlier. Let's make it sooner. Happy to come back anytime.
Yay!
All right. Thank you so much, Mark. Have a good one, guys. Take care, Mark.
I know.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
That was amazing.
All right, Rain?
Oh my God.
Rain, I could see you grinning from ear to ear with that advice that he was giving you, because I know that you've been looking for stuff like that.
Yeah. Because I think for me before, it's like, I think the question in my head was, do I move around a lot? Am I okay with all these movements? Am I too much? So it's good to have that information from Mark, because to me, it's like, okay, I'm glad that I'm making connection through my body language.
Exactly. And that's what it's all about. Again, guys, if you didn't know Mark Bowden before today, which you're crazy if you didn't, go search him up. The videos that he has about everything, body language, authenticity, being inauthentic, everything. Even from before we started the podcast, Rain, we were talking about how to set up your podcast, like how your mic, your lighting. You're showing us his light. He has videos on all that stuff. Go check him out. He's a master of everything that he speaks about, and he's so fun to talk to. Like I get so enthralled with his energy. So thank you so much to Mark Bowden for coming on. I really appreciate that. Rain, we went long. I mean, like, boy, oh boy, I appreciate him so much. There's a few things I wanted to talk about. One was, very quickly, friends of the podcast update. Who do we have to speak about? Friends of the podcast. I want to say big thank you, of course, to last week's guest, Chris Taco Padilla. Holy moly, that was a great podcast. When I listened back to it, I even realized even more how fantastic he was. I'm searching up one more quote that I'm going to make a post on, but he's a fantastic guy. Next week on the podcast, don't get into a fight with this person, but he is also a ring announcer. Joe Martinez joins the podcast. He is coming back as well. We haven't seen him in forever. He just, he's, of course, everywhere. He's UFC, boxing, you name it. This guy does it all. He's coming on the podcast, Rain.
Oh my God. I love Joe Martinez, man. He is the reason as to how I ended up at Up Next Fighting. I didn't know who he was before. I think I told you this before, Tim. I just wanted to try MMA, and I went on LinkedIn, added a
Mhm.
bunch of announcers, and that's how I stumbled upon Joe. I asked him a few questions, and he gave me some advice. And next thing you know,
Well,
I'm announcing it Up Next Fighting.
all I'm saying is when I had him on the podcast before with my last co-host had dreams of being a cage announcer as well. And I just remember, I got to find the clip, but he asks Joe at the end of the interview, how can I be a cage announcer? And Joe says, get the hell out of here. Stay in your own lane. This is my job, bro. Like, he tells him to get lost. So we don't know what's going to happen when he sees you. It may be very aggressive, but we will see. That's Joe Martinez on the podcast next week. So very excited for that. We may have a second guest who has previously ghosted us. So I'm not going to say his name yet. We will see if he shows up. And then in a few weeks, we have the return of the Habibi, Basil Hafez, because he's finally fighting. It's been almost a year since his last fight. I don't know what the heck has gone on. I think he had some surgery, stuff like that. We'll talk to him. But he is fighting Mickey Gall, which is a huge fight for him. That's a very good opponent. So that's a big name for him to get a big win. And I can't wait to meet Basil Hafez again. And of course, friends of the podcast, if you want other audio podcasts like ours, go check out rageworksnetwork.com. That's rageworksnetwork.com for other great, fantastic podcasts. So thank you to them as always. Rain, I showed the picture for Mark Bowden while we were there, but did you know that Dana White was at the
Tom
Tom
Brady.
Brady roast?
I just saw a post on Instagram I think I saw a picture of Dana White at the event.
Yeah. So Dana White is there with Sugar Sean O'Malley next to him
Mm-hmm.
and Max Blessed Holloway on the other side. I mean, UFC is so far above every other organization. I mean, for him to be there, for him to get the mic to roast Tom Brady for 60 seconds, and he did a good job. Like, he said some good jokes, some good stuff. For several of the people up there to comment that Dana White was there and made jokes about Dana, I mean, that was just so much focus for the
Yeah.
UFC on what was a very historic thing, because I think that was the first ever live roast on Netflix. I mean, that's a huge spot. And to get all that kind of publicity was crazy. Some of the jokes about him were hilarious. So they were good. So check those out. But yeah, I mean, boy, oh boy, the UFC, just that's another level, right?
Yeah, it's great for UFC. It's great for, the sport too, because, we basically have a seat on that table, right? And it's like before it's like basketball, baseball, football,
Right.
and now MMA. And it's great that UFC is getting this spotlight too at
Yeah.
events like this.
Yeah, amazing for fighters to be able to get that recognition, for Max Bless Holloway, for Sugar Sean O'Malley, and then for what that sets up in the future. I mean, congratulations to them. That's fantastic. On a slightly different note, hold on, I had a few things, but we won't get to everything. But I guess I will talk about this very quickly, is that, again, another former guest of the podcast, Matt the Immortal Brown, he's retired, Rain. He puts out a post, a Twitter post that says, "That's it, I'm done." I did a reel on our Instagram because, this guy was talking. He's so good. This dude is a man's man, Rain. Like, he just talks about the need for strength in society and blah, blah, blah. And like, he's all about that. And I love his stuff. He has a newsletter, which, again, when he was on the podcast, I told everybody, go to Matt Brown's Instagram and sign up for his newsletter. Rain, I just wanted to talk briefly about his latest newsletter.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Immortal Wisdom Weekly. Please sign up for this. But this was issue 54. This should have been a sign, Rain. Remember, we've been talking the last several weeks about people when they post stuff online that's like sad or weird or whatever, and you know that it's going to head towards something. In his latest episode, this is before he retired, His main article is called Don't Be 50-50. And it's talking about you have to go all in on stuff. You can't be 50-50. And let me just quote a little section of this. It says, if someone is 50-50 on becoming a fighter because of other aspirations, like raising a family, I'd say forget about it. It doesn't mean you can't fight for fun or keep training, but if you want to be a professional fighter at a high level, you got to put everything you got into it plus some. It's not impossible. I know fighters who succeed with families, but you got to remember this. You're going up against people that don't have those responsibilities.
Mhm.
Here's the thing. Your family is going to get less of you, or your training is going to get less of you. And when one of them gets less, generally one of them is going to break. No matter which way you dice it, that's a problem. Yeah.
That is
Very,
true.
very insightful. You know, it's about you got to commit. You got to do everything 100%. You got to commit. You can't give half-assed effort. And especially in the fight world, I mean, that's your life on the line. If you're going in the cage and you're not giving it 100%, you can't do that. And on the other hand, how could you possibly not give 100% to your family? Right?
Exactly. So I think it's kind of like
Wait,
what we talked about last
wait.
week, where you need to surround yourself with people who support you 100%,
Yes.
people who will understand you 100%. Even if they can't understand you, at least there's like that will to like understand you because they love you, right? Um, in the sport of MMA, there's a lot of training involved. To be a high level fighter, there's a lot of sacrifices that someone needs to make in order to reach that level. Because if you
Yeah.
think about it, if you're 50-50, then, basically, then don't be surprised if you don't really reach whatever you want to reach, right? Like the
Yeah.
mountaintop that you want to reach, right? Because it takes a lot to get to the top. Practice,
Yeah.
training, the drills. There's a lot that comes to making it to the top and to stay on top too. So you need that kind of support system and you know what? If you can't give like 100% to your family right now, it's okay. They'll understand. I
Well,
remember. Mhm.
yeah, sorry, hold on. I mean, he does go on to say, which is funny that you're saying this, but he does say, now, if you have that uber supportive spouse, then it might
Mhm.
be okay, but do you even want that? Or do you want to give everything you've got to your family? It's
Mhm.
very interesting because again, like you could have someone super supportive. And we're talking about like the fight life, right? We're talking about something
Yeah,
that's very much different. We're not talking about like a normal job or something like that. We're talking about something that really absorbs you whole body and soul.
yeah, yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I remember when we had Cody Brundage, right?
Mhm.
Remember when because he has two daughters, I believe, and a wife. And I remember I asked him how he spoils his family once he's done with training camp, and he basically told us, he gives his whole time and attention to them 100% after
Yeah.
training camp because he's basically gone while he's
Yes.
training. So it's just like finding that balance, finding, I guess, negotiating that time, with your significant other, with your family that, hey, look, for X amount of months, I'm going to be focused on training.
Yeah.
And then, but after that, you guys, I'm all yours, right? My whole time, my whole dedication will be with you guys. So I think it's just finding the right, people who will be okay with that.
Or if you're Matt Brown, I think what he's saying, or, and I'm reading the quote again, when you want to be a decent level fighter, you got to burn the boats. Fuck your friends, fuck your social life, fuck family reunions and parties.
I believe
It's
that.
it's an interesting dichotomy, right? Like, yeah, but we're talking to fighters today. We're talking about like growing your social media and stuff like that. And this is the other thing. This is it, right? Like, are you 100% in on this to get better? And again, the parallels for those that aren't fighters is the same thing. Like, Rain, to be honest, this podcast was meant to be nothing. When I had Mark Bowden on the first time, I thought it was a freaking insane. I was like, wait, I got the world's #1 body language expert to talk about fighters and their standoffs against one another. Like, this was insane to me. And then I started getting fighters, and then I started doing it more and blah, blah, blah. Right. Like, but you had to put in the work, and you honestly had to like continue and keep pushing. And when you really wanted to quit, you couldn't quit. You need to keep working at it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Man, I think when I had him on before, my logo for the podcast was like, I drew it on Microsoft Paint. Like, that's how bad the podcast started.
Not like this right here.
No, it didn't have this magical beast. No. So, it's just, you have to put into it. But that all said, Matt Brown has retired, which is a sad day in the world of MMA, because, I mean, 2 weeks ago it was Bam Bam, although he's not really retired because he is saying he still wanted to fight in bare knuckle. But now Matt Brown is retired. It's sad to see these legends that we've grown up with, or that I've grown up with, that I've seen fight for so long, end up retiring. But I mean, all the best to Matt Brown. He is a freaking champion. I love that dude. I love everything he says about his mentality. I know he's tough. I know that when he calls everybody a fat slob, I know that's maybe not perfectly PC, Rain, but his message is strong, and I do like the guy. And I messaged out to him and I said, "Hey, buddy, I wish you all the best." And he wrote back to me. So, he's a good dude. He's a good, solid dude, and I hope that he's well.
Yeah, yeah. He's what, like 40 something years old, right?
I mean, he's up there. How old do you think he is? As I quickly ask my
there you go, 43. 43.
Well, how did you figure that out so fast?
Thanks, Google.
You're typing
this
as fast.
Podcast is sponsored by Google.
January 10th, 1981 is his birthday, from Jamestown, Ohio. Yeah, 43, 6 feet tall, 170 pounds.
But hey, props to him, man. He's retiring at age 43. Enjoy your life, man. That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, no, I mean, he's now going to be looking into training his fighters and whatever. He's just moving on to that next stage of life.
Yeah. And that's great. It's like he's still involved in the fighting industry, passing on his knowledge, the experience that he learned. And I love what you read, the quote from him, because that is knowledge to upcoming fighters, right? Yep. Because if you want to get to the top, you need to be aware of the sacrifices that you need to make. Yep. And are you down for that?
Yeah, you need the mentor, the guy that's done it, right? Like, it is very important. Good luck to him. I mean, he's got his 3 sons. He has his gym. He has coffee as well, the Immortal Coffee brand or something like that.
Okay.
So coffee. So tons of stuff. But anyways, congratulations to him. Rain, that's it for today's episode. I think we've gone kind of long now, so I feel pretty good. Boy, I really hope people like this episode, because
I know there's a lot
so much good knowledge.
Yes, there's a lot of things that people can take away from this episode. I just want to remind people, fighters. Mark said, be on your social media posts, be current, relevant, and helpful. That's really important.
Yeah, current, relevant, and helpful. I do think if you focus on that, rather than just posting silly stuff, not silly stuff, but like, if you focus your intentions of your posts, I feel like that may help, especially maybe with fighters who don't really enjoy the social media too much.
Mm-hmm.
You can maybe take this advice, because I know a lot of amateur fighters, Rain, that do nothing on social media. And I'm like, bro, you got to do something. And then I get it. I don't like social media, blah, blah. Take Mark Bowden's advice then. Do something that's helpful and just post twice a week. That's it. Commit to 2 posts a week. You don't know where that's going to get you later. If you want to be a big fighter, you want to be whatever, you got to start now. You can't, it's going to be too late later.
Mm-hmm.
So, anyways, think about those things. Rain, an amazing episode. Next week is going to be fantastic, because we have someone very exciting, Joe Martinez. And guys, thank you so much for watching the podcast. We're so excited for all these fantastic guests that we keep getting. We're going to keep looking for bigger and better guests all the time. If you're a fighter and want to come on the show, let's get on here. Come on, send me a message and we'll get you on. Rain, That's it for this episode. Thank you so much. And I can't wait to see how you improve at the next fighting.
Let's go.
Let's go. And last thing I want to say, when Mark kept saying about all those facial structures you can do that is not nice, that's often the way you look at me. I don't know
I
if you
know.
recall.
I know.
See you later, guys.
All right,
Bye.
bye.